All right, let's get into the nonsense. So let's watch some Frank Tufano shorts first.
Man, I am convinced all of these auction companies are run by complete scumbags. I spent over $50,000 at PCI auction last month, and they wouldn't even give me a few days to pick up my items. They said, oh no, you have to pay storage fees of $100 a day. And at this second auction, I only bought like $300 worth of items. So I said, you know what? Forfeit my items. I'm no longer doing business with you. And they agreed to it. What kind of business do you run where your customer spends that much money and you treat them like complete crap? I don't know, maybe.
I'm assuming they have a terms of service that he never bothered reading.
If you guys leave enough negative reviews on PCI Auctions East Coast, they'll start treating me like a human being.
Dude.
I heard.
As opposed to making an excuse at every corner to overcharge me. They wanted $150 per item to palletize it. You know what that takes? $4 pallet and 5 minutes of a worker's time. $150 per item, completely gutting their customers. It's disgusting.
Still botched after 10 procedures. By the way, when he says 10 procedures, he's gotten filler injections around his eyes. That wouldn't technically be like a corrective procedure for the condition he has.
Did this, you need to stress that this is after multiple corrective procedures. What he did was way worse than what you have right now. Yeah, I keep forgetting that not everyone has watched all my videos and knows the entire backstory. I've had over 10 corrective procedures since the botched procedure. And if you guys go to botchedbytobond.com and see those initial pictures of how I looked after the surgery, it was much, much, much worse. It was really, really horrific and horrible what this guy did to my face. And it's probably going to be 15 procedures before I can try to get looking back to normal. It's completely ridiculous and disgusting how I've been treated and how these doctors seem to treat all botched patients. It's just, I have a platform, I have a social media presence, so I'm able to speak up for myself and prevent this guy from doing this to anyone else in some capacity. So botchedbytobond.com if you guys haven't watch the full story on how this guy ruined my face.
PPL electric lawsuit. So he claimed his electricity company charged him like $5,000, and that was for his personal property, according to him, not his warehouse.
Just got out of the Scranton courthouse. We had a hearing for the temporary restraining order so that the electric company doesn't turn off my power while we're trying to settle this dispute. They basically charged me $5,000 for 3 months of residential electric service, and when I tried to call them to get them to double check it, make sure it wasn't a billing error, they just danced around basically extorting me, saying, hey, you have to pay us $5,000 or we're going to turn your power off. Nothing reasonable whatsoever. So I had to file the lawsuit. And at this hearing, my assumption was, we just have to see that there's a clear dispute, that there's a clear issue that needs to be settled, and then we can grant the restraining order. But for some reason, the judge was allowing the electric company to make arguments against the case. And I'm like, hold on. If they're making arguments against the case at all, that means there is a dispute here. So grant the restraining order so I have power while we settle this. But I mean, I think this, the judge is just going to protect the.
So I'm assuming he has no fucking idea what he's doing and he didn't hire a lawyer. If the hearing is about whether or not there's a legitimate dispute, then wouldn't they make arguments about why this isn't a legitimate dispute and say, look, this is clear cut, here's the evidence we have, we should be able to cut his power? Like, that's what you'd expect?
The electric company, they're going to try to screw me. You don't really have any resolve against these people. What's crazy to me is they probably paid $10,000 to $15,000 in attorney fees, just the retainer to their attorney, instead of just giving me the few $1,000 that would have resolved the issue. So this whole scenario is really crazy. I guess we'll find out what the.
I don't even understand how this would need to go to court. Like, there's a meter on your property that tells you the kilowatt hours that you've consumed. You can just look at the meter, take a photo of the meter, and then show them you're overbilling me. Like, it's that simple. How is this even a fucking problem?
Judge says in a week or two. I guess worst case scenario is I'm going to buy a generator and bill my daily gas bill to PPL.
What an idiot, dude.
So, is it long and or short, Frank Vitz? Did you buy a scale?
I have not bought a scale.